Can we turn this episode into like a Chicago Marathon support group? It was not a good day.
It was not my day to run a marathon.
So I stopped there, I chugged my beer, and they're like, we got shots of Malort back here too.
What happens when three runners
From different parts of the country,
with different running stories,
all get together?
pure.
RunTok.
madness,
So listen in as we talk about all things running related.
and some things that maybe aren't running related.
As it's bound to be a good time. This is
RunTok
RunTok
Live.
What is up, and welcome to another fantastic episode of RunTok Live, episode 45. We decided we were counting a while back, so I just wanted to throw that out there. Episode 45, First Sans Chicago. So if you haven't caught our Chicago episode yet, make sure you're doing that because it's up on Spotify and YouTube now. How are you guys feeling since Chicago?
well, first episode 45. For the listener, Chase has volunteered to give away $50,000 on our 50th episode. So you guys want to?
I'll do 50. I'll do a $50 gift card on our 50th episode. How's that sound? A $50 first form gift card on our 50th episode, and we'll figure something out. We'll do something.
If you commit to that, I'll commit to 50 in alter ego. I'll do alter ego gift card.
Okay.
Carolyn? No.
That's fine. Hey, that's fine. No,
This is good. 50. All
Yeah.
right. Alter ego and first form.
alter
Heard it
ego
here
and
first.
first form. Yep. 50th episode, we'll give away $100 total. How about that? Gosh,
To a random.
if that doesn't
to
get
a,
us views, I don't know what will. We're
to
handing
a
out
random
money.
subscriber.
To
Let's do it.
all our did we hit triple digits yet? I haven't even looked in a while.
I don't know.
We
We
were
just came
trying.
up with this literally on the spot. To those that are listening, we did not plan this.
Not at all. No,
until
this is just
right
this
now.
is we are shooting from the hip like we do.
Well, yeah. How are we since Chicago, though?
Can we turn this episode into like a Chicago Marathon support group? Because
Sure.
it was not a good day.
It was. I thought. So I didn't run a good race. You guys know that. I had issues after mile 12, but I had no excuse. Like I thought the weather was good, the course was good, no one tripped me, like I ate good, I slept good, had all my equipment, like everything was good. It just was not, for the second Chicago Marathon in a row for me, it was not my day to run a marathon.
I'm in the same boat you are, but I have like a complete explanation for mine. I ended up seeing a sports psychologist last week, and I have performance anxiety. So it explained, like I was explaining, I've been training for all these races. I've been, doing all the things I should. And then I show up to races and then I have like my heart starts beating, like I'm profusely sweating. And my sports psychologist was like, yep, that's performance anxiety, friend. And I was like, that explains it. So.
Yeah.
So when did you how long have you been talking to your sports psychologist about this? I think you've mentioned it before, but not to this much detail.
Yeah. So I have wanted to go to one for the longest time because I feel like for the past couple years, really, I've had so much anxiety around racing, hard workouts. Finally was like, you know what? I'm going to do something about it. And it's crazy. It all started when I was a kid. But in school, like I would always be scared about taking tests. I would go blank, all that stuff. And my sports psychologist was like, well, that's translating into your running. And I was like, okay. So we're kind of working on things we can control, like the effort and the attitude on race day, hard workouts, long runs. So it's been so cool.
That is pretty cool. And I've thought about going to see a sports psychologist. I don't think I have like anything worth noting. But at the same time, you never know until maybe just go talk to one. Like, who knows? Maybe I have getting old psychosis. So,
I think that's
so
definitely what I've got.
Masters runner envy. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. uh, yeah, my issues are I'm just getting old and I'm a dad, and dad life, trumps running life.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I'd say
So
that's definitely what I've got. I think at this point, it just gets harder and harder every year to kind of keep up with things. And I've talked about it a little bit on here before, but I just haven't been able to hit the results the last couple years that I really wanted to hit. So Chicago wasn't my best race either. I had a lot of fun though. I know you guys had some bad experiences, but I had fun out there. I crossed something off my bucket list. I stopped for a beer on the course, so I stopped and chugged a beer on the course. So that was one thing that I scratched off my bingo card. But
where was where at on the course was it?
had to be it was late. It was like mile 24, 25, somewhere around there. And what happened was it was right there was a table of people with shots of Fireball, and I was just like, no. And then I saw some other people sitting up beer, and I stopped for that. I stopped there, and I was just like, I've always wanted to do this. Give me a beer. So I chugged that beer, and then after that, before you guys saw my video about the Chicago handshake, right? I think we even discussed it in the Chicago episode.
Yep.
It's a shot of Malort followed by old style beer. So I stopped there, I chugged my beer. I was like, I've always wanted to do this. Thank you for having this out here. And they're like, we got shots of Malort back here too, if you want them. And I was just like, no, I'm good on that one. I tried that the other day. No, thank you.
Yeah, I can honestly say I've never drank on the course, but it's also not on my bucket list, so I don't need it. But
it's one of those things that you don't want to do in a serious race. Obviously, like if I was going for a PR, then obviously you don't want to give that a shot. And of course you got the whole stranger danger thing too. You got to kind of trust that you're not gonna run into somebody that's got some kind of agenda with spiking their beverages or whatnot. But it turned out okay. I didn't get sick or anything, and it was a fun time.
Well, so Chase had a beer on the course. Carolyn actually stopped at a tattoo parlor and just got a quick tattoo.
I did. But yeah, I'm kind of echoing what Chase did and switched to my non-time goals. Like, I, obviously got a tattoo, right? But I also looked for the funniest race sign, or I looked around at every single neighborhood. There were neighborhoods, I've run Chicago 2 other times, and I didn't notice the really nice neighborhoods. I didn't realize Pilsen was so late in the race. Chinatown was later than I thought. It was just so cool to just forget about my PR and just look around. So
yeah, I wanted to run my master's PR. That was my goal. And technically my master's PR is what I did in Indianapolis, 257. So I was shooting for 255. We were on pace. So me and Chase, we were in the same corral. We actually ran together for the first portion of that race, basically until the I don't know what 11 mile marker, pretty close, somewhere around there.
Yeah, you pulled away from me for a little bit because I wanted to back off, and then I was about to catch up to you, and that's when I saw you step off the course. So
yep. Yeah, so we were on pace. We were running about a 6:37 average for those first 11 and a half miles, which my goal was a 6:40. So, a little bit ahead of pace, but, and then my back started doing old man things and I had to step off the course because it started twitching on me, and then it stopped. And I went back on the course, and about 400 yards in, started twitching again, and I basically turned the last 14 miles of my run to 400 yards of running, 400 yards of walking, 400 yards of running. And the funny part, so I told you guys, and I even mentioned it on the podcast here. I have a friend who he did the Paralympic division, and he was pushing his aunt in a wheelchair. And him and I jokingly, like throughout our training, because he lives here, said like, oh, if I pass you pushing my aunt, like something's not right. Like you're doing something wrong. So lo and behold, mile 24, there goes James passing me, pushing his aunt in the wheelchair. And I was like, oh, you son of a bee. He ended up running like a 309, pushing 165-pound lady in a wheelchair, and he still ran a 309.
That's impressive.
It's pretty incredible. So,
yeah, I kept wondering. I kept waiting for you to come back around. I was hoping I'd see you again, but yeah, like I said, I saw you step off, so I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if you were done or not. So,
well, I stepped off and I looked for you, and I didn't see you. So I was like, man,
I was literally like right behind you because I'd almost caught back up with you. So I was like literally right behind you. I almost hollered at you.
I must have missed you. Like I missed you like right in that split second. Because as I stepped off, I started looking for you. I was I don't see Chase anywhere.
Yeah, you turned right. It was right as you turned around. So,
and then I started my walk jog thing, and I was purposely looking for you for like miles. I was like, man, Chase must have DNF'd. Like he must have quit. Like what's going on? And then I crossed the finish line, and I get that text message from you, like, hey, I'm already back at the hotel. I was like, oh, all right. I guess he finished the race. So no, it was fun though, right? Like. Well, Chase, this was your first Chicago marathon experience. What was overall perspective of just the weekend in general? What are your thoughts?
So I think here's what my thoughts on Chicago as a whole. They've got the logistics down. They have like the little things down, like the expo. Yeah, it was packed, but it was also kind of spread out. Like other than being in the Nike section, outside of being inside the Nike section, you don't really feel like you're crammed anywhere. So it was nice. I mean, like I said, Berlin had a great venue for their expo, but the logistics was a nightmare. I know that me and Cynthia were talking about it at the Shakeout run. It just awful logistics for that expo. So yeah, Chicago does a great job with that. The way that we were able to just get right into the corrals on the morning of the race, that was fantastic. Really easy, super smooth. And the course as a whole, the amount of stuff that they had on the course is probably the best I've seen so far as like gels and food and drink options. I mean, they did a really good job of making sure that they had everything out there that you could really need.
Did you see the I don't remember, like I think it was probably around mile 16, maybe even further out. It's almost like a NASCAR pit turnout, and it's the biofreeze section where you can run through the little side thing and they'll spray you with biofreeze. Yeah.
They had the biofreeze spray going, and then they had Vaseline everywhere. So like I said, those are the little things that make a huge difference in a race like that. Like there's been been tons of times where I've looked for Vaseline. I'm like, man, somebody's got to have some Vaseline. I'm scared to look at my photos when I'm done with it. One guy stopped and got Vaseline, and it was already done for him. I looked at him, I was like, ooh, man, he was wearing a white singlet. It was bad. But yeah, like I said, the little things, those little things matter, and they really make for a great experience. The race overall as a whole, I think was really awesome. It was a really good experience. I got a couple gripes though.
Yes, I'm gonna say there's a but somewhere in there.
There's a but, and it's mainly I'm gonna get chastised for this. It's mainly with the people of Chicago. Y'all, all I got told first gripe, all I got told leading up to it was how great the crowd was. I wasn't impressed. As for between Boston, Berlin, Chicago was the worst as far as crowd support goes. You guys were not loud I was very disappointed. The other thing I was disappointed about, we are racing. We're out there running a marathon during a Bears game. The Bears are playing a morning game during the race. I keep seeing, I saw hundreds of people obviously wearing Bears jerseys. I asked probably 10 to 20 people wearing Bears jerseys. It's somewhere in that range. It was a bunch. What's the score? What's the score? What's the score of the game? I just want somebody to update me on the score of the game, and nobody knew. Nobody knew until mile 25. Mile 25, I finally saw a dude holding up a cardboard sign with the score of the game on it. You could see he had it crossed out and it was updated. And I pointed over at him, and you can see in my pictures from the race, it's great. They captured it perfectly. I'm like pointing like this off in the distance. Everybody's wondering what I'm pointing at. It's because I'm pointing at the guy. I'm like, is that live? And he says, yeah, that's live. I was like, thank you. I've been trying to figure that out the entire course.
He was so
all Bears fans. How did nobody know the score?
No, so that sign guy was running throughout the course. Like, he would pop up because I saw he had like papers on like both teams, like he ended with like stacks of papers on both teams because he was constantly changing the score.
I will say, and this is probably because I was going at a much slower pace than I wanted to, so I paid attention more. But there's actually a lot of people out there with those signs holding those scores up. Yeah, because I saw them from literally 0 to 0. I saw that, which was very early on. To I saw the scores that kept updating throughout different people. So. Yeah. But I do think that's hilarious.
Were they all wearing Bears jerseys? Because that's really what I was specifically looking for. I was looking for people wearing Bears jerseys.
No, but some. So there was one guy in particular that was literally wearing the sign like a sign performer, and then there was just people holding up the boards with sign updates on it. So
so maybe I was just asking the wrong people. I was asking the people wearing the jerseys that were faux fans.
Yeah,
not real Bears fans.
There was a guy.
Not fans of the Bears. They're fans like the Bears. The Bears.
So funny.
The Bears.
All right. Well, those are. What about you, Caroline? What's your take?
I don't know. So this is the first year that I've had GPS issues, and it really made me mad because I ended up with 26.84 miles or something. And it's never been off. I've always had 26.3 miles. And that's even with sticking to the blue line, running off running to get water and stuff. But yeah, I ended up with almost 27 miles. And it just, mentally, it jacked with me. And people who were manually lapping their watch and stuff, like, were having issues too. And I don't know. That frustrated the crap out of me. But that was my biggest issue. I don't know. I feel like there were more people on course this year than last year, because last year I remember there were pockets of neighborhoods with like no people, and like people found their way to every part of the course, which was really nice to see. And I haven't run, any of the other majors, so I'm kind of interested in the future if I get in to just compare that, just like Chase said. So
the thing that got me was that there was people out there. I was like, there was people wall to wall, but everybody was just standing around. Like when we ran by, there was nobody cheering, nobody yelling. I was just like, what? Me and like other people are sitting here trying to get people worked up, and nobody's doing it. It was disappointing.
It was bad at 13.1. Like when you're running right into the city, everybody was quiet. Like I didn't hear any cowbells and none of that stuff. So I don't know. It was weird. And then the Abbott cheering section at mile 25, silent. I was like, y'all are supposed to be the loudest, you're sponsoring the Chicago Marathon, and they were like quiet. I was like, cool.
I learned something about Chase at the marathon, and that is Chase is not afraid to be social during the marathon. Um, and, and it must have been probably like the 10K mark. I had slowed down a little bit behind Chase to get some water, and then it took me a little bit to catch back up to him. And when I catch back up, Chase is running with this other runner, some girl, and he introduces me to her. He's like, "Hey, Jake, this is so and so, and hey, this is my buddy Jake." I'm like, "Dude, you just met. Like, you're acting like you two have been friends for life, and you're introducing me to her." I just thought it was the coolest thing, though. I was like, "All right, cool. That's cool."
See,
Yeah.
that is, yeah. And that's a good way to avoid the mental wall and to just keep running, just talking to people. So I might try to do that, Chase. That's a good idea.
Yeah, the first 10 miles, it really, I was just trying to go out there and have fun, right? Like we were going at the pace that we were going at, and it was really comfortable until about mile 16. I was doing pretty good until about mile 16, and then all of a sudden it was like my low battery light came on, and I couldn't move anymore. But yeah, like the first 10 miles or so, I struck up that Emily, I think is her name.
I don't
Sorry
remember.
about
Yeah.
We were kind of in the middle of something at the time, so sorry if I forgot your name. But Emily, I think. And what happened was like there was that spot in the course where you had the big median down the center of the road, and everybody went right, and like I and like a handful of other people went left. And we had the water stops all to ourselves over there. Like all you people were on the right hand side, so we're all just sitting over there talking, like me and her. And then I met some guys that were wearing First Form singlets.
Yep.
And I struck up a conversation with them, and turned out they work for First Form. Actually, one of them, he's like a world champion high rocks athlete. So chatted with him a little bit online, but yeah, so it was a good time. It was cool to be able to. I've heard that like striking up conversations and talking to people can really help, make time go by and make a race not seem so long and arduous in effort. So that was definitely a different experience for me. I don't do that very often. Indianapolis, I've done that a couple times because like we'll be running in certain areas, and people from out of town will say something, and I do like a quick explanation, and like, yeah, I'm the local kid. 2 hours outside of Indianapolis, I'm the local kid. But
yeah, people know me. I don't know.
But I'm not usually that social.
I'll say, so I still stand by my comments that the Chicago Marathon weekend, I'm gonna adjust it. The Chicago Marathon weekend is still my favorite marathon weekend. To the expo, I think, is good. A lot of people don't like. I want to kind of explain this too, because I actually did some research on it and learned the why. So a lot of people were upset about the finishers gear and the fact that there's no finishers gear, no Nike finishers gear, which is the marquee sponsor at the expo. And take into account this. Everyone was also talking about where the Nike finisher gear was, which is at the Nike store. And at the Nike store, there would be a line of people, and it would take up to 2 hours to get your item, to get your finisher's jacket. Imagine having that wait at the expo with a buildup of people to go get your stuff, and they couldn't accommodate it properly with all the other stuff going on at the expo. That's what the description was online as to why because they used to do it at the expo, and it became too much of a hassle where people were just ended up waiting too long to get into the little Nike section, which is not feasible, I guess, from a layout perspective. So that's
but
why
I guess my question is, why the finisher's jacket? What they had other jackets there, right? Like the Chicago jackets were purple. Now we want to go get another jacket. I know you guys didn't get both jackets.
Yep.
But I didn't get a purple one because I was looking forward to getting a finisher's jacket. And then whenever it came time to get a finisher's jacket, the whole thing just seemed not worth it to me. So I walked away with neither.
The purple
Granted, I've got
one,
like 3 or 4
yeah.
T-shirts that I brought home, but still.
Now the purple one wasn't a finisher's jacket. It was just a marathon jacket. There were only
Right.
one marathon jacket, which is a black one, and then there was a white pullover that, if you call it a jacket, it was a jacket. But a workaround that I don't understand. So this is where my gripe goes in for Chicago. Like they're all, according to them, their only other option was to ship everything to either get it online afterwards or go to the Nike store, which is a mile away or longer, and get it. Why not give people the option to purchase it in advance and make it part of their pickup bag, like when they go pick it up?
They did that back in 2021 because I remember they were announcing a time that they were going to drop the finisher jacket, and they did it last year too. And you just had to. It was online in 2021, and it may have been because of the pandemic. But 2023, I had a friend run to. I think she went to Heartbreak Hill, and got us finishers jackets the day before the marathon. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it was they didn't get us. I don't even know if they didn't want that much gear before the finish, like before the race even started, or what.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I just feel like that's the one thing that they could do better is, because people are going to spend money on the finisher's jacket. They are. I mean, they've already spent so much to get there and run the Chicago Marathon. They're going to spend $130 on a jacket. It's going to, or 160, whatever it is. I did,
Yeah.
case in point, right? So, but at least make it a little bit more convenient for them. Make it easier to get.
Exactly. I think, and the whole thing, it was. I wouldn't have known about the finisher jackets or like how to get them or whatnot if you guys hadn't told me, right? Like maybe it was in an email somewhere. That's fine. But like, I mean, they send out a dozen emails all the time. Probably. I mean, how did you guys know? I'll just ask
Facebook.
you.
I learned on Facebook.
Exactly. So we live in a world where you have to be involved in all, you have to be in this group and that group and this group. You have to download this app and be a part of this group. And that's, there's a lot of people out there, I guarantee you, that ran the Chicago Marathon that don't have Facebook, that probably didn't know anything about any finishers jackets and not know where to get them. And like you said, Jake, there just needs to be a better way to make that available if that's what you're going to do. But I don't, my hang up on the whole finishers gear anyway. I have a kind of a sore spot about that.
For a lot of people that do a lot of the majors, they don't like if they're a repeat racer for Chicago, they're probably not as needing of a finisher's jacket. Remember our guest Jeff Tomaszewski that was on, and he doesn't get a Boston. He's a 12-time Boston Marathon runner, but he just buys a patch and puts it on one jacket, right? So there's going to be people out there that are like that. But how many first-time runners and only time runners are out? I mean, this is going to be the only marathon they ever do. They're going to get a finisher's jacket, guarantee it. Like
if they know where to get it.
If they know where to get it,
if they know where to get it, if they can get it, if it's not going to take them 6 hours to get it.
So I actually got my finisher's jacket as soon as I crossed the finish line. I told my husband, I said, we need to Uber now. So we went to the Nike store and I got my finisher's jacket. I'm like covered in salt. I still have my medal on. I'm like limping, but I got my dang finisher's jacket. I did.
I sent my wife there on her birthday, by the way, to wait in line during my marathon. I sacrificed her viewing me to watch my race at the 1 and 4 mile mark so she could go wait in line and get me a jacket.
That's so. There wasn't any lines at the finish or after the marathon, so it was really nice. Yeah, I had to take the stairs though, but I got my I got like the pullover finisher jacket that looked more well made than whatever the windbreaker looked like.
So here's another funny thing I have to talk about. Well, I hear a lot of people complain about the condition of the roads, like the actual potholes and everything that were out there. And it wasn't the greatest, but I've ran on worse. Like I'm not concerned about that. I did have to dodge a few things. Here's what's funny: I made it through that whole marathon, back spasms, all of it, dodged every pothole, no issues. Crossed the finish line, got my medal, got back onto Michigan Avenue, was walking back to the hotel, and crossing the street, crossing the crosswalk. I forget that there's a little bit of a curve there. I did that little like step down, but think I'm stepping on a flat surface, but I'm not. And I step down a curve, roll my ankle like
Oh,
on the walk back
Oh
to the
no.
marathon. Luckily, I mean, it wasn't serious, but I just like, of course, this is cap off this already horrible race with
Oh,
an
yeah.
injury on my walk back from the marathon.
Oh, is it feeling okay now, or did
It
you
was
have to
fine.
get?
Yeah. I was
Okay.
just like, I was over it at the point. I was like, whatever.
Oh man.
So yeah, that was fun. But um, I thought the
I didn't
marathon
think
was
the
good.
road conditions were bad at all. I was actually very impressed.
Hmm.
Considering I spend a lot of time in Illinois, so I'm used to the roads not being great. But no, they were fine in Chicago, and
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't alarmed by it. Again, no road is going to be. You're never going to run on a brand new road. It's not going to happen. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah,
yeah, I
I
was
mean,
very impressed with the course as a whole. I
Yeah.
really like that course. I think that's
Mhm.
probably so. If I was going to compare Boston to Chicago to Berlin, I think Chicago's probably the fastest one out of the three that I've ran. Um,
yeah,
Berlin is still like it's got a lot of issues. Berlin, the race has a lot of issues, but as far as a course goes, it's probably the prettiest course that I've ever ran on for sure. With all the European architecture, Brandenburg Gate, the Tiergarten, it's fantastic. Um, but Chicago was pretty good. I really liked it better than the cobblestones in Europe for sure.
yeah, yep. And I haven't done Tokyo, I haven't done London, I haven't done Berlin, but my understanding is Boston is still considered the hardest of the six,
It's
even
definitely the
though
hardest of those three that I've done. But,
yeah. So
and my favorite still. I still give Boston the nod. Um, I think that just
I'll
the
give
experience as a whole
yeah. I
was
mean, I really
fantastic.
think like it's hard to
You had a bad
compare.
experience though. I think you get an asterisk next to your.
Well, I do, but I boil it down to logistics, and that's the only thing that throws Boston away from Chicago for me is the logistics of the course
Just because the
and
one way
just
course.
it's tough. And then New York is kind of in that same boat too. So
Exactly.
yeah,
And that might be, a lot of people say that the crowds in New York are the best, but that might be because it's a one way course. Why Boston just feels so much special. I understand what you're saying as far as logistics. It sucks having to wake up extra early in the morning to get shuttled to your starting area,
yeah.
but yeah, it's just something about Boston. It was so incredible. Um, not made the same feeling yet anywhere.
Carolyn, you're gonna experience it. I promise.
If they stop changing the dang standards, yeah.
You'll get it. I
Oh,
promise you. I believe in you.
yeah.
I think New York has the best views for a marathon. Like the course itself is the most visually appealing. Boston, you know, it's great, but it's a point to point, and at
Right.
certain points, you're kind of just running, you know, in between houses. Same thing with Chicago. New York, it's just everything is a sight around you, going on over the bridges. Yeah, it's challenging. It's going over the building, or not over, but through the buildings. I mean, if you think about it, New York is an island, right? Like, kind of like it's basically surrounded by 80% water. You're confined to this area, and that's where the marathon is. You're just running throughout this thing, and you can see New York City the entire time. So it's kind of neat.
Yeah. The only thing I can relate to that is when I did the New York City half, and I actually reapplied to do it next year. It's so pretty. And I mean, you can't even complain about the about the hills, because when you're going uphill, it's like, oh, you can still see a skyline. Downhill, still seeing a skyline, and it's hard to not have fun with that, you know.
Yep.
So
Chase, you're gonna love it when I say this. After Chicago, Indianapolis Monumental moved up the rankings even more for me. Hasn't surpassed Chicago, but I'm just having more experiences to compare it to. Indianapolis Monumental has gone from like my top 5 favorite, probably my top 3 favorite marathons right now.
Coming up.
I'm not
Carolyn,
gonna
you're
do it
coming,
again.
right? Still
I
coming?
am doing the half.
Yes.
Like I'm considering doing it again next year, in all honesty. So I'm not doing Chicago again. I already made that decision, but Boston for sure, and I'm at least the half, but maybe Monumental Marathon again. We'll see.
Right on. Well, I'm gonna be down your way for Disney in January, so he'll have to make it over to Texas sometime for a race.
Yeah, come hang, man. I do Houston pretty much every year. So.
Yeah, Houston's a big one. A lot of people from Florida go do that.
Yeah.
That is on my list. I won't get to it next year, but
it's like January, right?
Yeah, the 18th. No, 19th. So, but it holds the women's half marathon world record. I think. It's either American record or world record.
We got to talk about that actually. You just brought up Chicago Marathon. A record went down.
My goodness.
And it went down by a lot.
2 minutes. By 2 minutes. Destroy. Well, throw this out there. I have been present at the last 2 races where the women's world record was broken. Chicago this year, Berlin last year. So
what you're saying is the world record's going to get broken
I'm at
again.
The race, the women's world record's going down.
Statistically, there's a good chance that someone's breaking that record.
Yeah, and it's not me. That just to be clear, that's not me.
No, I don't know how deep we want to go into it, but I'm happy that I got to experience that. Like I got to run the marathon the day that the women's world record was broken. I think that's amazing and awesome. I still I find it just a little bit over believable that it was broken by as much as it was broken. And I put it into perspective of she was a minute away from the men's Olympic standard. Like that's pretty wild. Now, here we are 3 weeks later. It stands. So
last year when Asifa broke it in Berlin, she broke it by 3 minutes. So she had a bigger gap when she broke the world record than what Ruth did this year.
I'm more so just thinking about like
how close to the men that she really is.
Like
the
how
fact
close
that
to the
fact
men
that we
she
got a
is.
female down in the double digit or in the single digits.
Yeah, I mean, 8th place is what she placed overall in the race. Like that's number again. I want to emphasize this is incredible, and I hope it's 100% true 10, 20 years from now, and it's never debunked or anything like that, as has happened in the past. But it's just like I don't know. I don't know. Like you wouldn't have thought that this would have been possible. I would never have thought before that Chicago Marathon that if the women's world record is going to be broken, it's going to be broken by over 2 minutes. It's going to be so close to the men's standard time. Like it's very unbelievable.
So is this the equivalent of sub 2 for men?
I will say, yeah. I will say it's about as close as you can get. Like, how much longer until it's sub 205 for the women? Like, if we're already at a 209, and it's improved by 5 minutes in the last 3 years. Like, when is 205 going to be in talks? When are they going to look at this and say, all right, the women is now running a 209. We need to increase the Olympic standard for the men. Like, it's just a lot to think about. But again, I hope it's true. I hope it stands. But it's a lot. It's a lot to take in that record is what it is right now. How much of it is technology? How much of it is shoes? How much of it is?
What was she wearing? Was she wearing
I have no idea.
Puma? Was she Puma?
She's either Puma or Adidas.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But I'm excited for it. And like I said, I felt going in that the women's
Oh, she is
field.
Nike.
Yeah, I felt going in that the women's race was going to be the more exciting race compared to the men's race at Chicago, and it was. So it lived up to that.
Yeah. But no, she was in the new Nikes, it looks like.
Okay.
Nike Alpha Fly 3s.
Okay.
We'll see.
All
That's
right,
what I was wearing. So
last year when Asifa broke it, she was wearing those new Adidas shoes, the $500 ones. So we don't have that argument this year. We don't have a shoe argument this year.
No, there was so many people wearing those Nike Alpha 3s.
Oh my God, people were clomping around. And I was like, is this like, they literally sounded like a bunch of horses. Just clomp, 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 clomp. And I'm like, oh my God. I mean, more power to you, but
the only reason Chase would not wear them is because they did not fit his color needs that he wanted for the Alpha 3s.
Yeah, I mean, I was planning on buying a pair, but just ugly colors. Ugly. Huh? Loud?
They're loud, man.
They are loud.
Either that or I was in a corral full of heel strikers. Like, I'm like, really?
No, they're loud. They're loud for sure.
God, man. It's that little pod that's in the front of the shoe. And it's ridiculous.
Yeah. But the point of this whole 10-minute topic is I'm excited that the women's record was broken. And
I know that there's been a lot of people that have been like talking about it and talking about like, behind how legit it really is, but I think we can just be proud for what it is for now, and if something comes out at another time, then so be it, but let's just enjoy it for the time being.
I mean, my thing is, going back to the Olympics, there were so many world records and Olympic records that got set, and people didn't bat an eye. But the second the marathon record gets broken, people are like, I'm like, I mean...
Well, and again, I don't think it's the fact that it got broken. I think it's the fact that it got broken by the margin that it got broken by. And not just this year, but the margins over the last couple of years.
2 years,
Yeah. So
yeah,
that's
I mean,
really
it's
what
literally
it
so.
down to.
2019 was the world record up until Berlin last year, and that was Asifa. Sifan Hassan ran faster than that in Chicago last year, but it wasn't a world record. It was still 2 minutes behind Asifa's world record. And then, Ruth this year, under 2:10. So.
And Kiptum's time comes from Chicago, right?
Yeah, his world record was at Chicago. So both male and female records.
Yeah. So Chicago has become, if you're chasing the record, if you're chasing your fast, you're an elite, you're chasing your qualifier time, your whatever, Chicago, like come Olympic trial time again, the Chicago is going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
I would definitely attest to that based off this year. Like I said, that course is flat. It is fast. For instance, Berlin has a couple little inclines as you're going around places, but even the bridges weren't like bad in Chicago. Like it's just super flat.
Yeah. Last year when I was struggling and like hit a wall at 15, I felt every single one of the hills. But this year, I didn't feel a single one. It was amazing.
That, let me yell at you for a second, Carolyn, because you ruined something for me.
Oh no.
You ruined something for me. You brought up before when we did our podcast together, when we all three of us were filming.
Yeah.
You brought up something. You said, "Oh, when you get to mile 21, don't look on the other side because you're going to see the people on mile 24 crossing, and it's going to mess with your head. Don't do it. Just keep looking forward." I've never noticed it before, swear to God, until that Chicago Marathon. When I get to mile 21 and I look across the way, and then I see the mile marker of 24 as I'm passing it, I'm like, God dang it. Like, Carolyn, why? I would never have noticed. I wouldn't have even looked over there before. Now I'm looking.
How would you not have seen a bunch of people?
Just wouldn't have phased me before.
I remember being there, and I remember thinking about talking about it on the podcast, but I was expecting it to be longer. I thought the opposite. I thought you made it sound like it was worse than it was.
That's what I was preparing you for. So when you looked on the other side, you're like, "Oh, it's whatever." But yeah, it was.
Well, try being in a position where you can only run every 400 yards. So that 2.5, 3 miles is the longest 3 miles. And then you just come around, you make the U-turn, and you got to see him again on the other side. It's like, oh, this is horrible.
Oh my God. Did you guys see on Mount Roosevelt, there was a psychiatrist on the sidelines? Yes. So as you're running up Mount Roosevelt, somebody had to tell me this when I crossed the finish line because I was literally just looking straight forward and running. Somebody goes, "Yeah, they had a psychiatrist in case you needed to talk to somebody about the hill after running this whole race." I was like, that is genius.
The hill is not that bad, guy. If you're listening to this and you're going, "Man, I hope to do Chicago, but this hill has a psychiatrist at the top of it," it must be crazy. The hill is not bad.
No, but
it's at mile 26, so you're done. You're just like that's all you're thinking about is getting to the finish line. You're not thinking about going up a hill. You're right around the corner here.
But it was really, somebody had to tell me about it when we crossed the finish line because I literally was just run. So
did you guys see our good friend Matthew Choi out there on the course?
I'm not gonna lie, I gave him a high five. I did. I was in my running moment. That was part of my 400 yards of running at that point. So I gave him a high five.
I did. I yelled at him and gave him a high five too.
Where was he?
When I went by him, it was like 24, 25, somewhere towards the end.
No, he was before. He was at
he was on. He was just cheering.
Yeah,
that's what I yelled at him. I was like, "What are you doing on the sideline, Choi?"
He's around mile 15 for me.
Was it?
He was at a bunch.
He probably in a couple different spots, but
and he said that on his one of his videos. He said he kind of traveled around to multiple spots.
He looked like he was bouncing around, but
yeah, no, I did see him because I feel like I remember making a comment to somebody. But
I did reach out to him and asked him if I could have the footage of me running by him. Haven't heard anything back yet.
No, he was out there cheering.
He had a camera guy, so I was like, "Hey, you got that where I ran by you? Can you share that with me?"
Yeah, because he showed a bunch of video clips of him like hugging people and high fiving them, and this is what it's like to spectate the Chicago Marathon. And but I did see him. Part of me was just gonna run by him. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna give this dude a high five right now. Like, I'm just gonna do it. Give him a high five.
Be civil. Let's all just be nice.
All be nice.
Come on,
he's out there. He's cheering people on. He was one of the loud ones that the rest of Chicago wasn't, according to Chase. So
a bunch of Chicago natives being quiet. He was out there yelling at us.
So I'll give him
out there with all of his Matt Choi energy, man. He was bringing it.
No, I did hear a couple people shout out the cultural runner. I heard a couple. There was one guy, and he actually messaged me on TikTok, and his name's Andrew Kramer. He shouted me out, and then he messaged me on TikTok. He goes, "That was me that shouted your name." I was like, but he goes, "But I couldn't remember your name, so I shouted your TikTok name." So that was cool.
He messaged me and was like, "Hey, I saw you." He does really good
Yeah.
videos. Shout out to Andrew. Like his videos, he does the like Wes Anderson style videos where he
Yep.
does like the vlog of his life as a 20-something guy in Chicago. It's
And then he ends
I don't know
everyone
how
with
much time he puts into those, but he does a good job with them.
he ends everyone with putting his mouth tape on and going to sleep. So
Yeah. I don't know. I
he's a
don't know
cool
if I could
guy.
do that though. I don't know if I could do mouth tape.
He's a cool guy. I popped into a couple of his lives, and he actually interacts with people, and it's he's a cool guy. I like him. Power like weightlifting beast. So, what about you, Carolyn? Did you get any autographs or requests like that?
So I have a friend who was he's a photographer for all of these like elites, Olympians, what have you. He finally got a picture of me as I ran past him. So the only nice photo I have is of my back. So that's cool. At least from him, because he was cheering on Brooks athletes, all that stuff. He was like, "Yeah, I saw you, but you had already run past." I was like, "Thanks."
That remind something cool I have been seeing and being a part of these Facebook groups that I'm in. So you guys know those pictures, like if you buy them, they're expensive. Like especially if you buy like the packages, they're pretty
Mhm.
expensive.
Yeah.
And what I've been seeing a bunch of people doing, which is kind of cool,
The AI.
is they're buying the pictures and they're going onto Facebook and they're posting them and they're saying, "Hey,
Mhm.
here's my picture with like 10 other people. If you happen to be one of them, it's yours.
Oh,
Like take
okay,
it for
that's cool.
free." Like, and because there's other pictures, or sometimes like if it captures you and you're really in the background and there's really more people in the forefront that are probably more the main picture. So I thought
Mhm.
that was pretty cool. And I saw people claiming, I'm like, oh, saying thank you. Like that's me.
That's cool.
Yeah, I
That's
thought
cool.
that was pretty neat. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously that's a shot in the dark because you're literally just posting it out there saying, here's a random picture of a guy. If this happens to be you, you can have the picture for free. But
Mhm.
I paid for a package, but I did like one of the minimal packages where I just selected, I think it was like 5 photos or 6 photos or something.
Mhm. Yeah, I did that after the race, and it was still like $80. But I mean, they were good quality photos, but it was still pretty expensive.
Yeah, I was really impressed with the photos that I got from the
Mhm.
race. But I always, for these big races, I always buy the photo package. Just
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
buy
it's
the whole
worth
thing.
it,
I just buy the whole
especially if
thing.
yeah, like if I ever do Berlin or Tokyo or London, like I know it'll be a one and done for me for those. Like the chances of me going back and doing them again very slim.
I need
So
to go
I'll
back.
definitely, yeah, I'll spend all the money, to get what I need to get there. Chicago, Boston, New York. I'm not as like needing of doing that, but
Mhm.
Mhm.
yeah.
So what's next for everybody now that Chicago's behind us?
What do you got, Carolyn?
I was gonna do the Houston full, but Chicago, it didn't go my way, and I didn't want to turn around and force, this training cycle for Houston. So I dropped to the half. Um, and I kept it pretty quiet because I didn't know if I was doing the half or full. So I ended up dropping to the half. And it's officially the most expensive half marathon I have paid for because I dropped from the full to the half. So yeah, and there's all these like transfer fees. I'm like, cool. But yeah, we're gonna PR the half and kind of go from there.
Well, you guys know I have a pretty rigorous race schedule from a local standpoint because of the team that we run for. But this weekend I have we call it the 5 mile championships. It's a 5 mile race here in Fleming Island where I live. And then after that, I have a 5K the following weekend. Then I have Thanksgiving. I'm doing a half marathon. It's actually a really big half marathon that they do here. And these are all part of what we call the Grand Prix series here. So they're races that I have to do. And then a Maris Bank. So that is a marathon. It's the Jacksonville Marathon. I'm for sure doing the half. I'm undecided if I'm gonna bump up to the full because I might. Um, I'm doing it for the wrong reasons. So that's why I'm like, maybe I won't. Like my wrong reason is I'm doing it because I had a bad Chicago, and I'm like I still want to use my fitness and go run a decent marathon time. A Maris is not the course to do that on. Like it's so I'm setting myself up for potential further distraught if I do that. So we'll see. And then Boston is like the big thing that I'll be doing in April. I'm already all got hotel booked and flights ready and good to go for that one. What about you, Chase?
Well, of course, we got Indy coming up here in a week and a half now. I just like to consider that my little hometown race, even though it's not my hometown. We talked about that earlier.
And it's not really little either. It's a decent sized race.
It's not. It's Indiana. And then of course Disney in January. I'm doing that with my brother and my sister as much as I can, so they didn't get into the dopey. We've discussed that on here before. So I'm doing the entire dopey challenge, but I'm going to train for the 10K. That gives me like 2 weeks to kind of work on some speed, try and get my speed up a little bit. My 10K PR is 34:16. I don't know if we can get there, but I've always wanted to race a Disney race. So this is the opportunity. Like I said, my brother and sister didn't get into the 5K or the 10K. So I'm going to race the 10K. I'm still running the 5K, the half marathon, and the full marathon with my brother and sister. But after that, I'm kind of done for 2025. I've got a busy personal schedule, so I'm just not going to train for anything. I'm still going to run, still going to probably do some races still, but I'm not going to train. I'm going to take a break with Coach Paul. We've already talked about that a little bit. So that's just, like I said, just where I'm at in my running journey right now. I need a break from competing for a little bit and putting that pressure, like you said, like we talked about earlier, putting that pressure on myself. I'll take it all the way back to when I PR'd, when I set my PR in the marathon back in 21. That was at the time, that was a 25-minute or 35-minute PR for me. So I always knew, like from the day that I ran that time, I knew that was going to be really hard to beat that time again. But I didn't realistically think that I would still be here today,
trying to chase
not having
down.
achieved it. So I'm just taking some time off, and we're going to take a year to kind of get the mind right, and then look and see what we can do then. See if who knows, maybe time goals just may not be a part of my running journey anymore. We'll see.
Yeah, time goals are, but I guess when you get to our age, you just say you got to accept that it's harder and harder to run faster, and you got to adjust like what your goals are now. Are you going time goals, or now are you going placement goals, like qualifying goals, just experience goals? Like what are you doing? So I think it's cool that you're doing that. Kudos to you. I'll be curious because I know you're a natural competitor. You're a natural competitor. I wonder how many months in do you go, I'm getting that itch. Maybe
I'll probably jump into some races and try to get that little race itch not scratched there. But I'd love to go back to the mini 500 again. I'd really like to. I might do what I might do is do the flying pig this year and do the chili 4-way with cheese challenge, which is it's a mile run on Friday night, a 5K and a 10K on Saturday, and then the full marathon on Sunday. So you do all of those events. It's called the 4-way with cheese. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, 4-way with cheese.
Oh my gosh.
Speaking of goals, something we've forgotten to talk about in a while here. Carolyn.
Yes.
What is your number right now as far as your run streak? Where are you at?
Tomorrow will be a week from my 4-year anniversary.
4 years of running at least 1 mile
every day.
every single day.
Mm-hmm.
That's
incredible.
crazy.
Thanks.
That's
I've been really, really quiet about it. And in 2025, I'm also going to be quiet about my races. So yeah, and I have people that are like, so you ran the day after Chicago? I was like, yeah, it was a 13-minute mile, but it was a run. Like I didn't walk. But yeah, because people are super judgy. Like I ran through COVID. I ran through my hip injury. But yeah.
Who
Coming up on
cares? Like, obviously do what you need to do, but who cares? Like,
I know that's what
if
I'm
they care, that's a them problem. Like,
yeah.
it's one
Yep.
thing to be judgy for saying wrong things, giving bad information, giving bad advice, being a bad coach or a bad person. Being judgy for someone doing something healthy and productive with their life on a day-to-day basis, that's a them problem.
It's
Yeah.
totally a
Not
them
your problem.
problem.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's a problem altogether.
Yeah.
It's weird how the fitness community can be viewed in such a negative light just because we like to stay in shape. Oh no.
Yeah, right?
And
We're so
there's
elitist.
You're
right.
running
And
when
like
you're
why are
sick?
you yes, like stay in my business and like
What? I've heard
No.
that one before. They're like, "Oh, why do you run when you're sick?" Like, what? I don't get it. Like, dude, it's not like I'm running up to people's cars at stoplights and coughing on them and then
right.
running away. Like, ha ha ha, I got you. Like, I'm running. No one is being affected by me being sick right now. So,
Yeah. Silly. Just silly.
no, that's right. Well, kudos and like I feel like we haven't talked about that, and it's
Yeah.
4
Yeah.
years
Yeah, no,
is
it's a
an
big
4
deal. I'm
years.
incredible feat.
glad you brought it up, Jake. That's a
Yeah.
big deal.
November 6th. So and I get a little cake every year and yeah, I'm not a big like dessert I mean, I like ice cream and stuff, but I get my little cupcake and just go to town on it every year.
Oh, and November 6th is a Wednesday, so you're probably not doing a long run that day, but
No, but I'll do 4 miles.
there you go.
Yeah. And it's going to get real wild in the next couple years because I plan on like running every day through my pregnancy. And I mean, it's up to my doctor, you know, I'm going to consult, but that's the plan. And there are people that run the day after they give birth. And that's, I don't know. I feel like I'll be even more quiet about it at that point.
I feel like that's worth more content, in all honesty.
Just
No,
like
I
me
really
walking
do.
around.
So we get a lot of. I'm pitching an idea to you, Carolyn. Right? There's a
Mhm.
lot of content. I do a lot of content about being a dad runner. There's a
Yeah.
lot of content about stroller jogging.
Mhm.
There's a lot of content about the life after the kid is born as a runner, but I don't see a lot of content of running while pregnant, like, and what that really entails and what the
Yeah.
challenges are, what the pros and cons are.
Mhm.
Something to think about. I'm
Yeah.
sure
No.
there's stuff out there, but
Yeah.
you got a platform to put it out there for future mother runners. That sounds like a bad word when I say that, but you know what I mean.
Yes. But I mean, I would love to, film throughout my pregnancy, running content, obviously, but just, I don't know. I'm kind of excited, um, when it happens. So
Sweet. Well, cool, guys. 1 hour mark.
we did it. Just kidding. Literally, this is like the highlight of, no, oh my gosh, this is the easiest, it's like
I don't
talking
think
to my 2 older brothers.
I don't think people really realize that 95% of the time, like, we're not being sarcastic when we say we are coming into these completely blind. We just hit record and start talking. we have
text
no
on and off
schedule.
throughout the week, and then like we come to the recording session, and we're just like, wait, what are we talking about? What are we doing?
That's what makes it
who's gonna do
organic.
this?
We call it an organic talk. So that's the best way to do it. I don't go to the restaurant planning on every question I'm going to ask my friends that I'm eating with. I just show up and start talking. So
I don't even plan what I'm gonna eat when I go to the restaurant. Take 30 minutes looking at the menu.
Oh, another thing I learned about Chase, he doesn't like mushrooms on his pizza. But he apparently will pick them off instead of complaining to the waiter that they put mushrooms on his pizza, even though we didn't want mushrooms on the pizza.
They're not bad. I just don't want them. And I think the whole thing, it was just a confusion thing with, we were trying to order because we were getting Chicago style pizzas, a deep dish pizza. It takes like an hour and a half to make. So Jake was ordering ahead for us, and I just said, I wasn't really sure if you wanted to like split a whole pizza amongst all of us, or you and your wife get a pizza and me and my wife get a pizza. So I just said, I was like, I don't care, whatever you want. We'll, if we get a pizza, we'll have this kind of pizza. If we're sharing a pizza, then just no mushrooms. And I think just having the no mushrooms thing in there confused the other waiter that took the order, and he was just like, sausage, pepper, green pepper, onion or mushroom? Extra mushroom? Because it felt like there was extra mushroom on it. Maybe it's just because I didn't want it on there. But no, and I don't hate mushrooms. It's just not my thing. They were diced up really finely, which is a good thing. Because sometimes I really don't like it when I get big chunks of mushroom or any vegetable really on my pizza. It's like, don't cut that up into some smaller pieces, okay? Like, dice that up a little bit. Come on. Anyway, enough about Chicago pizza.
There we go. All right, guys. Well, 9:00 my time, Chase's time, not Carolyn's time. And that also means it's Sacramento Kings basketball time, so I'm going to be going to watch that game.
All right. Well, Carolyn, where can everybody find us?
Yes. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, at RunTok Live. You can email us at runtalklive@gmail.com. Let's see. You can see Chase and I at the Indianapolis Monumental half marathon and marathon in a week and a half.
Not this weekend, but next weekend.
Yeah, the 9th and 10th. So if you happen to be there, let's see. You can find me on TikTok at Carolyn McDuff and Instagram at Carolyn M. Levinway. Chase, where can people find you?
Same places. Chaser No Pacer is the name. You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, X. Those are my main spiels, my mainstays.
Every time you say your thing, Chase, it makes me think of Will Ferrell and Anchorman. He goes, "I don't know if you know this, but I'm kind of a big deal." I get that.
I have never said that on this show. I don't know. It's quite possible I have.
No. And you can find me at The Cultural Runner on all social media platforms except for X. I am not on there because I despise X/Twitter, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, that's us in a nutshell, gang.
Okay, bye.